A desperate signal the bridge of the Terran patrol vessel. Terra's Wrath hummed with quiet efficiency as it drifted through the outer rim of known space. Captain Sarah Chun stood at the observation deck, her weathered hands clasped behind her, back as she watched the stars through the reinforced viewport. 20 years of commanding vessels in the deep black had taught her to read the subtle signs that meant trouble was coming. The way her crew moved with extra tension in their shoulders, the slight fluctuation in the engine harmonics that suggested something was different about this patrol. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez sat at his communication station, his fingers dancing across holographic displays as he monitored the standard frequencies that connected human space to the rest of the galaxy. His enhanced hearing implants, a gift from a mining accident that had nearly killed him 5 years ago, could pick up transmissions that normal equipment would miss completely. The cybernetic augmentations glowed softly blue against his dark skin as they processed thousands of signals simultaneously. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked at her xenobiology station, analyzing data from their recent survey of an uninhabited system near the galactic edge. Her expertise in alien languages and cultures had made her invaluable to the Terran exploration fleet, though she privately wondered if they would ever encounter anything more interesting than space rocks and dead planets. Her translation algorithms ran constantly in the background, searching for any signs of intelligent communication in the cosmic noise. Chief Engineer Tom Bradley emerged from the lower decks, wiping grease from his hands with a worn cloth. The massive man moved with surprising grace despite his bulk, a lifetime of working in zero gravity having taught him perfect control over his movements. His engineering bay was a marvel of human innovation, packed with tools and spare parts that could repair almost anything the universe might throw at them. The peaceful routine of deep space patrol was shattered when Rodriguez suddenly straightened in his chair, his augmented hearing detecting something that made his blood run cold. The implants in his skull were picking up a transmission on a frequency that had been silent for decades, one that was supposed to be reserved for genuine galactic emergencies. "Captain," he called out, his voice tight with concentration. "I'm receiving something on the old emergency band, frequency 847.2. The signal is extremely weak and heavily distorted, but it's definitely artificial in origin." Chun moved to his station with quick steps, her instincts telling her that their quiet patrol was about to become something much more dangerous. "What kind of signal, Lieutenant? And from what direction?" Rodriguez closed his eyes and let his cybernetic implants focus entirely on the incoming transmission. The enhanced processors in his skull worked to filter out cosmic interference and background radiation, slowly revealing a message that chilled him to the bone. "It's a distress call, Lem, coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 6 light years from our current position. The language is unknown, but the emotional content is unmistakable. Someone is terrified and begging for help." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her workstation with sudden interest. "Patch it through to my translation systems, Marcus. If there's an intelligent species in distress, we need to understand what they're saying." She activated her most advanced linguistic analysis programs, watching as they began to break down the alien transmission into component parts. The strange sounds that filled the bridge were unlike anything the human crew had ever heard. They were melodic and flowing, like wind through trees or water over stones, but they carried an undertone of desperate fear that transcended species barriers. Even without understanding the words, everyone who heard them could feel the panic and hopelessness of whoever was sending the message. Chief Bradley stood behind Dr. Vasquez as she worked, his practical mind already considering the technical challenges of responding to a distress call from an unknown species. "Doc, even if we can translate their language, do we have any idea what kind of technology they're using? Their signal strength suggests either very powerful transmitters or they're much closer than we think." Vasquez's translation algorithms worked frantically to decode the alien language, comparing it to thousands of known linguistic patterns in the Galactic database. After 30 minutes of intense processing, patterns began to emerge from the chaos. "I'm getting partial translations," she announced with excitement. "They call themselves the Zephyrians, and they're describing some kind of attack on their homeworld. Something about machines that consume everything in their path." Rodriguez adjusted his implants to focus more precisely on the transmission. "Captain, the signal is getting stronger. Either they're boosting their transmitters, or whatever is happening to them is getting worse." The partial translation that appeared on Vasquez's screen made the entire bridge crew feel sick to their stomachs. The Zephyrians were a peaceful, plant-based species who had never developed weapons of war. Their civilization was built around harmony with nature and cooperation between different communities. But something called the Void Reapers had emerged from deep space and begun systematically destroying their worlds. "Captain," Vasquez said with horror in her voice, "they're describing machines that harvest organic matter for energy. The Void Reapers are literally eating their people and converting them into fuel for more machines. 3 of their colony worlds have already been completely consumed, and their homeworld is under siege." Chun felt the familiar weight of command settling on her shoulders. The Terran fleet had strict protocols about interfering in alien conflicts, but this seemed different from the usual territorial disputes between spacefaring species. This was genocide on a galactic scale, perpetrated by machines that treated organic life as nothing more than a resource to be consumed. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, do we have any other human vessels in this sector?" she asked while studying the star charts on the main display. "Negative, ma'am. The nearest fleet elements are the battle group at Proxima Station, about 12 hours away at maximum warp. We're completely on our own out here." Bradley stepped forward with determination in his eyes. "Captain, the Terra's Wrath is a patrol vessel, not a battleship. We've got decent shields and some forward plasma cannons, but if these Void Reapers are as dangerous as the aliens claim, we're probably outgunned by a factor of 100. Chun nodded grimly. She knew her ship's capabilities better than anyone, and Bradley was right about their limitations. But she also knew that sometimes being human meant doing the right thing regardless of the odds. "Dr. Vasquez, can you establish two-way communication with the Zephyrians? I want to know exactly what we're dealing with before I make any decisions." It took another hour of careful work before Vasquez managed to establish a clear communication link with the alien distress. "Signal." The voice that came through the speakers was weak and filled with despair, but the translation software had improved enough to provide nearly complete understanding. "This is Sunward Growing Tall of the Zephyrian Council, broadcasting to any species who might hear our plea. Our worlds are dying, consumed by machines that show no mercy and feel no emotion. We are a peaceful people who have never raised weapons against another species, but we are being hunted to extinction by entities that see us only as fuel for their endless expansion." Chun activated the response channel and spoke slowly and clearly. "Sunward Growing Tall, this is Captain Sarah Chun of the Terran vessel Terra's Wrath. We have received your distress call and want to help. Can you provide more information about these Void Reapers and their capabilities?" The joy and disbelief in the alien's response was unmistakable, even across the barrier of species and language. "Humans, we have heard legends of your species, but we thought you were myths. You are the ones from the death world, yes? The ones who fight when others would flee?" Chun exchanged glances with her crew. Humanity's reputation as aggressive survivors from a hostile planet had apparently spread further through the galaxy than they had realized. "We are humans from Earth, and we don't abandon people who need help. Tell us what we're facing." Over the next several hours, Sunward Growing Tall painted a picture of horror that made the human crew understand they were dealing with something unprecedented. The Void Reapers were not a natural species, but rather a collective of self-replicating machines that had consumed entire galaxies before moving on to find new sources of organic matter. Each Reaper ship was a living fortress the size of a small moon, equipped with weapons that could crack planets and shields that had never been penetrated. They moved in coordinated swarms, overwhelming any defense through sheer numbers and firepower. Most terrifying of all, they learned from each encounter, adapting their tactics to counter any resistance they encountered. "Captain," Rodriguez said, quietly, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures moving through the Kepler 442 system. Whatever those things are, they're putting out more power than our entire fleet combined." Chun stared at the tactical display and felt the weight of an impossible decision. The Terra's Wrath and her crew of 200 were completely outmatched by an enemy that had already destroyed civilizations. But the alternative was to listen to an entire species being murdered while they stood by and did nothing. "Chief Bradley, how long would it take to get word back to Fleet Command?" "At least 8 hours for the message to reach Proxima Station, then another 4 for them to mobilize a response. By then—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. Chun made her decision with the certainty that had kept her alive through 2 decades of dangerous missions. "Rodriguez, send a priority message to Fleet Command. Tell them we have a genuine galactic emergency, and request immediate reinforcement. Vasquez, I want you to learn everything possible about Cyphrian culture and technology. Bradley, start working on modifications to our weapons and shields. We're going to help them." The bridge crew moved with renewed purpose, each officer understanding that they were about to face something that would test every limit of human courage and ingenuity. As the Terra's Wrath changed course toward the Kepler 442 system, Chun couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change not just their mission, but humanity's place in the galaxy forever. When Deathworlders answer the call, the Terran battleship, Indomitable Will, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with the fury of a thunderstorm, followed by 15 other vessels of the human fleet. Admiral James Harrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays that showed the scope of destruction the Void Reapers had already caused where once there had been a thriving star system with multiple inhabited worlds. Now there were only barren rocks stripped of all organic matter. The Zephyrian homeworld looked like a gray skull floating in space. Its oceans boiled away and its forests reduced to ash and dust. Sergeant Lisa Park led her Marine squad through their final equipment checks in the assault bay of the heavy cruiser, Earth's Hammer. She was a veteran of the Centauri border wars, a compact woman whose deceptively small frame concealed reflexes honed by years of combat on high-gravity worlds. Her Marines trusted her to get them through any fight, no matter how impossible the odds looked. Specialist David Kim worked frantically in the weapons bay of the battleship, making final modifications to the plasma torpedo systems based on data they had gathered about Void Reaper defenses. His expertise in adaptive weapons technology had earned him a place on the fleet's elite technical team, and now his innovations might be the key to humanity's first victory against the Machine Collective. Terra's Wrath had barely survived its first encounter with a Void Reaper scout ship. Captain Chun's vessel had suffered massive damage before managing to escape, but the data they had collected proved invaluable for planning the fleet's assault. The machines were powerful and adaptive, but they had weaknesses that human ingenuity could exploit. "Admiral," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian survivors. They're hiding in the asteroid belt around the system's outer planet." Harrison activated the main viewer and watched as the image of Sunward Growing Tall appeared on screen. The alien looked like a walking tree with intelligent golden eyes, but his bark-like skin showed the burns and scars of recent battles. Behind him, dozens of other Zephyrians huddled in what appeared to be a makeshift shelter, carved from a large asteroid. "Admiral Harrison," the alien said with wonder in his translated voice, "we had given up hope when your single ship arrived. But now you bring an entire fleet to help strangers you have never met. This is why the galaxy speaks of human courage with such awe." Harrison's weathered face showed the determination that had carried him through 30 years of military service. "Sunward growing tall, we don't leave people to fight alone. What can you tell us about the current disposition of Void Reaper forces?" The Zephyrian's golden eyes dimmed with grief as he described the systematic destruction of his civilization. "There are 12 major Reaper ships in the system, each one larger than your biggest vessel. They had strip-mined our worlds completely and are now processing the organic matter in massive conversion facilities. Our people who were captured are being consumed to fuel their expansion." Specialist Kim looked up from his weapons console with grim satisfaction. "Admiral, the modifications are complete. Our plasma torpedoes now carry electromagnetic pulse warheads designed to disrupt machine consciousness. If the Reapers are truly artificial, this should interfere with their coordination systems." Sergeant Park and her Marines had studied every piece of intelligence about Void Reaper technology, preparing for the possibility of boarding actions against the massive machine ships. "Sir, my teams are ready for close quarters engagement. We've modified our plasma rifles with armor-piercing rounds and equipped everyone with shaped charges designed to target machine control systems." The plan Admiral Harrison had developed was audacious even by human standards. Rather than engaging the Void Reapers in conventional ship-to-ship combat where the machines held every advantage, the human fleet would use their superior mobility and adaptability to strike at the enemy's weaknesses. "All ships, this is Admiral Harrison," he announced over the fleet communication system. "We are about to engage an enemy that has never faced Deathworld humans in battle. They expect their victims to be peaceful herbivores who surrender when faced with overwhelming force. They are about to learn what happens when they threaten something humans care about." The battle began when the human fleet emerged from the asteroid belt at maximum velocity, catching the Void Reapers by surprise as they processed organic matter from the destroyed planets. The machines had grown complacent after millennia of encountering only passive resistance from their victims. The first wave of human plasma torpedoes struck the nearest Reaper ship with devastating effect. The electromagnetic pulse warheads caused cascade failures throughout the machine's neural network, temporarily disrupting its ability to coordinate with the rest of the collective. For the first time in their existence, the Void Reapers experienced something resembling confusion. Captain Shun, her ship repaired and upgraded with new armor plating, led a squadron of destroyers in a daring attack on the Reaper's central command vessel. The Terra's Wrath had been equipped with experimental quantum mines that could punch holes in even the strongest machine shields. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command ship's neural processing center," Sean ordered as her squadron weaved between the massive enemy vessels. "If we can disrupt their central coordination, the other ships will lose their tactical advantage." The Void Reapers responded with firepower that lit up space like a miniature sun. Their energy weapons were designed to crack planets, and even the heavily armored human ships shook under the assault. But the humans had learned from their first encounter, using rapid course changes and unpredictable attack patterns that the machine's predictive algorithms couldn't counter. Sergeant Park's Marines launched in assault pods toward a damaged Reaper ship, intent on capturing one of the machine consciousness nodes for study. Her squad moved through the alien corridors with the fluid grace of predators, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to dodge the automated defense systems. "This is Park to Fleet Command," she reported as her team reached the ship's central processing core. "The interior of these ships is completely automated. No organic crew, just machines building more machines. I'm placing charges on what looks like the main computer system. The explosion that followed sent shockwaves through the Reaper ship's entire structure. For the first time in eons, one of the machine collective's vessels went completely dark, its consciousness extinguished by human explosives. Specialist Kim watched his sensor readings with growing excitement. Admiral, the electromagnetic pulse. Weapons are working better than we hoped. Each hit is causing permanent damage to their neural networks. They're losing coordination with every exchange. Asterisk, the tide of battle began to turn as the human fleet's adaptive tactics proved superior to the Reaper's rigid programming. The machines had been designed to overwhelm static defenses and consume passive civilizations. They had never encountered an enemy that learned from every exchange and adapted their tactics in real time. Admiral Harrison observed the tactical display with professional satisfaction as another Reaper ship succumbed to human weapons. All ships implement pattern Delta 7, target their processing facilities, and cut off their ability to convert organic matter into more machines. The final phase of the battle was a masterpiece of human military doctrine. Instead of trying to destroy every enemy vessel, the fleet systematically eliminated the Reaper's ability to reproduce and expand. Without access to organic matter for fuel and materials, the surviving machines would eventually cease to function as the last void. Reaper ship powered down and drifted lifeless in space. The human fleet received a transmission from the Zephyrian survivors. Sunward growing tall's voice carried emotions that transcended species barriers as he spoke to the humans who had saved his people. Admiral Harrison, Captain Chun, and all brave humans who answered our call for help, you have done something that we thought was impossible. You have not only saved the remnants of our species, but you have shown the galaxy that organic life need not bow before machine tyranny. Asterisk. The aftermath of the battle saw the beginning of a new alliance between humanity and the surviving Zephyrians. The plant-based aliens offered their knowledge of biotechnology and sustainable development, while humans provided military protection and engineering expertise. Admiral Harrison stood on his bridge watching the rescue operations as human ships collected Zephyrian survivors from hiding places throughout the system. Communications, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them, we've encountered our first galactic-scale threat and successfully neutralized it. Also inform them that humanity has just gained its first formal alien allies. The victory at Kepler 442 would become legend throughout known space. Within months, delegations from dozens of alien species arrived at human colonies, seeking military alliances and protection against threats they couldn't handle alone. Humanity had announced itself as the galaxy's protector, willing to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Captain Chun received a promotion to Admiral in command of the new Alien Protection Fleet, a force specifically designed to respond to threats against peaceful civilizations. Her first mission briefing included reports of similar machine collectives operating in distant galaxies, suggesting that the war against artificial tyranny was far from over. Sunward growing tall established the first Zephyrian embassy on Earth, marveling at the aggressive beauty of humanity's death-world home. His people's biotechnology combined with human military innovation would produce weapons and defenses that neither species could have developed alone. The galaxy would never again doubt that when innocent people cried for aid, the Deathworlders of Earth would answer that call with everything they had. The age of human protection had begun, and the universe would never be the same. Asterisk.